Hello, cozy detectives, and welcome to the Blanket Fort Files. I'm Joy,
And I'm Larissa.
and we're here to report on all things comfy and cozy. Yay,
And
spring!
spring.
Whoop, 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 whoop. And it's just the whatever day, the fall, no, spring forward.
Oh, the start of daylight savings. I always
Yes.
get mixed up of like when it's starting,
Yeah.
what's it's ending, even though it's obvious because like
No
there's more
idea.
daylight now. But this is probably a hot take. I don't love daylight savings.
Me neither. I don't like it. This is the one where people also like typically have like higher risk things. Like there's one of them that's like a higher risk thing, and one of them's like a less risk thing because of like you
Oh,
gain
I
an
feel
hour
like
of
the
sleep or lose it.
yeah, but I feel like everyone that I see loves this one because they're like, the sun's gonna stay out later, la la
Yeah.
la. And I'm like, I'm not a fan of the sun. I like when it sets at like 5. I know that's controversial, but I'm
That's a
just
hot
like,
take.
it just feels I know it feels cozier to me. And I'm like, it's 9 p.m. and it's still sunny out. And I'm just like, oh, and to me, it signals because it gets so hot here, it just signals that we're on the way to hotter days. And so
Yeah.
that's why I don't like it. But I know that's controversial.
No, I get it. I think like for the exact same reasons, but because of that, I do like it because when it's super snowy here, I get like I like snow sometimes. I've been much better about it this year because I've also been making sure I'm taking vitamin D because I was deficient. Um, but I feel like because when it happens, I'm excited for later days because it means that it's going to get warmer. Because while I do like I love we were just talking about this off pod, but I love autumn, but I also love spring because I feel like it signals that the like intense can't drive anywhere snow days are starting to come to an end, which I love for a moment. But in like March, April, May, like why are you here? Get out of my spring. So I'm
Yeah.
ready. I'm stoked. But anyway, okay, I
I
really want to ask you
feel
about this
like
movie too that you talked about because you go first and then I'll ask you about it. I'm too excited. I've had 2 coffees
well,
already. I'm in it.
I was just gonna say one more thing about the whole daylight savings of it all. I think if I lived where you lived and there I got snow all the time, I would probably feel the same.
Yeah.
But because winter here in Texas is so
Yeah.
short-lived that I'm just like, I'm and because that's how it is with like summer, like, ugh, it's October and still like 98 degrees.
Yeah.
Boy band. Um, so that's why I have these negative feelings. But yes, we can
Oh
talk
yeah.
about the movie. I don't know if I would want to do a case file on it,
Mm.
but I watched Hope Floats for the first time last night and I texted Joy asking her if she had seen it because I know you have been on this 90s interior kick.
Yes.
And basically, if anyone doesn't know the plot, or Joy, if you don't know, it stars our girl Sandra Bullock,
Love.
and she finds out that her husband's been having an affair, so she moves her daughter, Mae Whitman, who I love, and she was so talented in this movie. But they move to Sandra Bullock's mom's house down in Texas, and the interiors were just giving very much Joy vibes, and
Oh,
so I think you need to add it to your research for your 90s interiors.
yeah. I literally might watch it today because I was convinced I had seen it to the point where I was like, yeah, I've seen it. And then I like was doing research and trying to find like the interiors of the house to be like, okay, have I seen this? Let me just make sure that I have before I'm lying. And I didn't even remember those in Texas. So I'm like, I think I was lying to Larissa. Oopsies. I texted her. I was like, I'm pretty sure I haven't because.
Uh, yeah, it just
But
it feels very much of like I I don't know, it was good, I just didn't
mm,
love it, but it does feel like a movie that we would talk about on, like, an
yeah.
episode just because it has, like, all of the things that we're always looking for in a
Yes.
cozy movie,
Yes.
so maybe
What
we'll
did
do an episode on, like, case files. I don't know, I was trying to think of how to word it, of, like, case files everyone else has seen but us.
Yes, there's one of those. What is it called? It's about the pizza shop in the 90s in like
Oh,
I think it's
Mystic
New Jersey.
Pizza?
Mystic Pizza. Yeah,
Yes,
that's
I
one of
just
those
watched
that I've
that.
seen.
Yeah, I watched it for the first time also, like, last month, And it wasn't giving what I wanted it to give. It was fine, but I think I went into it
Yes.
with, like, the highest expectations, and I watched it and I was like, "This is fine, but it's not everything that
It
I wanted it to be, unfortunately."
Yes, that I think that is why I've never seen Hope Floats because I felt like it was gonna be the Mystic Pizza for me of Sandra Bullock, of, like,
Yeah.
I want it to be this hard rewatch, like Miss Congeniality, but I feel like it's gonna be one of
Yeah.
those where I'm glad that I've seen it, but, like, is it gonna be a hard rewatch for me? Probably not. So, I think that, like, when you
Yeah.
were saying that, I was like, that was the Mystic Pizza for me of, not Julie Andrews. What's her name? I just blocked out on her name.
Julia Roberts.
Julia Roberts, yeah. Too many Julias.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, not that you can ever have too many Julias because but anyway.
No.
Anyway, brain.
Yeah. But I'm glad we felt the same about Mystic Pizza because I was like, "Is it just me? Am I the problem?" But it
People
sounds
love
like it
it.
was not just me.
People love
I
it, and
know.
I want to love it as much as they love it, and I will rewatch it, but I think it would be like a max of once a year rewatch, and for somebody that's like a hard rewatcher, like was
Ooh.
watching Gilmore Girls season 1 yesterday, I feel like, I feel like it's like only so for me if I'm only willing to rewatch it once. And it's a
Yeah, and I
90s
can't
movie.
I don't even think I could do it once a year, maybe once every 5-ish years, but it still had nice vibes, and that's how I feel
Yeah.
with Hope Floats,
Yeah.
like, the vibes were really there, the plot was just not giving. But anyways,
Yeah.
we are talking about spring today, and I'm very excited. This is our last little How to Have a Cozy Tips seasonal episode, which is a little bittersweet because we'll have new ideas for the new seasons. Don't know what those are yet, but I'm
Yeah.
excited to
Me
figure that
too.
out.
Me too. Yeah, so this is gonna be our typical we have 10 tips, but kind of 20 because we have, like, the overarching subject matter, and then we each have our individual ideas underneath, which has been a very fun thing to do. So if you haven't seen the previous seasons, or if it is like the next year, we made them be like an evergreen type of tip. So like each year you could go
Mhm.
back and rewatch the previous type of tips and seasonal episodes. So we will have to come up with new ideas for this upcoming summer, which I am very also excited about.
Yeah.
I think it is a beautiful day outside here. And I feel like it like gives me like, oh, I hope for it. But then also like 3 days ago, it was snowy and I couldn't leave my house without slipping and sliding.
Oh,
And so I feel like I'm just excited for this season.
yeah, for something new. So we're having a typical spring day here of a rain or like typical Texas spring. But it's been cold, which I love. My little winter heart gets to hold on to that a little bit longer. But I am excited to talk about warmer spring coziness
Yeah.
and all of those vibes with you today.
Yes, me too. I am first. And again, we try to make more like some of these are going to be very typical type tips, but our sub tips might be a little bit more unique, or maybe the overall tip is a little bit more unique. And some of it, like we go back and forth. So, tip number one is allow your body to reset into the new season. The reason that I wanted to put this as the first tip is because I feel like in winter, especially, our bodies are wanting to cocoon and wanting to do these things. And it's also important. Like one of our tips from there was also allowing your body to do that. And it will also be important in spring to allow your body to rest too. But I think resetting and kind of like almost like a reawakening in certain aspects of it is really important. So my sub tip to this is no technology mornings because just not having that blue light in your eyes right away, if you can do it, is so important. I've also started to really like like an old school alarm clock. Back in high school, I had one that
Mhm.
was a CD player slash alarm clock, and I still have
Oh
that.
my gosh.
And it's so funny. I got to the point where the like spinning of the CD would wake me up, not the actual song, which is funny.
Oh,
But
wow.
I know I'm actually a pretty light sleeper, but I feel
Me
like
too.
right? Doing things like that just allows your body to wake up a little bit more naturally. And that's something that for me, especially in a season of higher stress in other areas, lowering the stress where I can is really important. And so, no technology mornings is my tip, my sub tip for this.
Yeah. Love that. I did kind of a whole mind slash body slash spirit reset. So what so mine was do something to heal your spirit, and like regardless of your belief system, if you have a belief system, I think just doing something for your inner self is really helpful, whether that's I talked about like maybe you try meditating, or if you are someone who I don't know, just really kind of getting in tune to what all of you need. So thinking about just like listening to your body, I think is really helpful,
Yeah.
listening to your mind. And so if that's something where you're like, I need a little bit more sleep today, or I need
Yeah.
to go on a walk today, just like trying to be mindful, I guess, of what your own needs are, because this is something that overall I've really struggled to learn with, about the whole like you can't pour into others if your cup is
Mm,
empty. And so using this time to really replenish yourself, I think is super important, because we tend to go into like winter and the holiday season of just like giving, 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 and just like always like doing all of these activities. And then we've kind of had this like period of rest with, January and February, but sometimes, depending on what season you're in, you may need more rest or
yeah.
maybe more energy inducing things. So just try to be, I don't know, one with yourself and figure out what you need.
Yeah, and there's even an aspect of that too where we can walk into spring expecting our bodies to like immediately be like go go go, and I am
Mhm.
really bad at sometimes if I'm going too much during the day, I'll like forget to eat lunch. And I'm like, okay, that's not good. Like that's not a listening to my body moment. So I totally agree with that of just giving
Yeah,
yourself the mental space to be able to like hear what your body is needing. Love that.
absolutely. Tip number 2, try a new cozy outdoor activity. So I feel like I have some sort of outside tip every season. And it's funny too, because I would definitely not classify myself as an outdoor person. Although I recently heard someone describe it, that you have outdoorsy people and then you have outsidesy people, where outsidesy people are like, yeah, I'm just going to go on my
Mm.
little morning walk and then I'm good for the day. Or like, I'm going to read outside for a little bit and I'm good. Not like, I'm going to go adventuring. I'm like, yeah, I would say I'm an outsidesy person sometimes. Once it gets too hot, absolutely not. But, and then my tip does involve flowers. And I know Florals for Spring, groundbreaking. I told Joe I was probably going to reference that like 5 times during this episode, but I saw this last year and never did it. And it just looks so fun, especially if you're in an area with a lot of wildflowers. And I know, like here in Texas, we're not technically supposed to pick bluebonnets, but like people do it, it's fine. But you basically take a piece of cardboard and you punch little holes in it. And so you just go on a walk and pick different flowers and string it through the cardboard. And so it makes this little like
Cool.
bouquet display. And obviously, because you pick the flowers, they're going to die pretty soon. But I think it just kind of reminds you to be really present on your walk, of looking for different flowers to make this
Yeah.
little decoration, even if it lasts for like a day. And I've seen people where they'll do what they call a color walk,
I
where
was
you
just gonna
pick a
ask
certain
you
color.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, you pick a different color before your walk, and then you try to find as many things in that color. And I just really appreciate that. Like I always listen to an audiobook when I go on a walk, but I think just again, being present in your
Mhm.
body, different things like that can really help
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, absolutely, and you could do different walks too, like, you could do an audio walk one day, and then, like, the next day do, like, a just you outside walk too, so I love that.
Mhm.
Mine is
Yeah.
I would say I I wouldn't say indoor cat, I would say I'm an indoor dog that sometimes hangs out in the backyard. So
Yes, that's
it's
me.
yeah. So my outside thing that I've always wanted, I don't think in where I'm living currently it's a possibility, even though over the summer I did do like a kiddie pool. I bought a kiddie pool and I put it outside and I was just splashing.
Love.
Loved it. But I would love to have a hammock because I feel like I could
Ooh,
be
yes.
a hammock girly. I feel like sitting out there with a book or sitting out there with like a bev or sitting out there with your audiobook or just like listening to birds. That's something that birds here run away for the winter and then come back, and it's always so exciting when you hear birds for the first time in the year. And I feel like an outside good spring activity could just be like hammocking, or if your apartment complex has a hammock. I lived in one once that did, and I was all about that hammock life. So I feel like if possible,
Yeah.
find one or get one potentially, or thrift one, or even like the hammock chairs could be really cool. If you have like a balcony, you can use the hammock chair. I feel like that's my
Yeah.
outdoors activity. That's super outdoors.
I mean,
Just sitting outdoors.
that's very much my vibe too. Yes, we have a little reading reclining chair that I don't get to use
Mm.
very often because, again, our outside weather is only good X amount of days of the year. But I do love reading out there, or sometimes I'll like crochet an audiobook out there too.
Mm.
So yeah, just like you said, getting some vitamin D, refreshing yourself. But no, I think this is later on when I talk about if you have allergies. So we'll get to that.
I know that is the bane of my existence in spring. That's where like the one thing about spring that I would say, well, autumn will always be number one, but I feel like keep spring a little bit lower than like right close to autumn is the allergies, because
Yeah.
oof, I get them, I tell you what. But that was a good transition. Speaking of craft projects, is the third tip is go low/no tech on a craft project and allow your mind to reset. So kind of similar to the first tip, but basically this one is kind of like doing the walk without the audio, like audiobook, just doing something where there's no stimulus besides what you're doing. And so something that I've been really wanting to do, which you actually did at the beginning of this year in a different capacity, but I would love to scrapbook or journal, because you did
Mhm.
the boards, right? Wasn't that this
Yeah, the
year? Am I
collages.
getting yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I would love to do that, because I feel like that's something that I did a lot as a kid, because we had a lot more, I guess, like paper media available to us, but I haven't done in a while. I did do
Mhm.
this. If you're watching, I had a picture frame that I did at the beginning of last year. Oh my gosh. And I created a little kind of scrapbook within it, and I hung it up, and I want to redo that. And then I also just really like the idea of scrapbooking in a very maximalist way. I've seen a few different people on Instagram do it, and I just love the idea of doing that with your hands, but with nothing else. Maybe I'm about to put a little caveat here. Maybe a like ambiance video on YouTube playing in the background or something, or no tech. So a low/no tech craft project. It's my
Yeah.
idea.
I can't do something without like
Something.
something going on, just because I'm like, oh, if I get too far into my thoughts, it's not good. But
Scary world.
yeah, and see, that's my thing. And why people are like, how do you read so much? Because I'm like, I'm always listening to an audiobook. So like for me, and I feel for me that even if it's just an audiobook, not say just an audiobook, but if I'm doing that, I'm like, that's, yes, it's technology, but I'm not scrolling, and I'm not just
Yeah.
like, I don't know, I can just shut my mind off a little bit, but it's still engaging enough where I'm enjoying
Yeah.
myself. But I know I've talked about some of these early on when we were first doing the pod, some of my 2%, which we'll have a comeback when we do my 2%. But I really love little craft kits that they sell at like Walmart or Target or RIP Joann's. But I think they've just really upped their game in the last few years with these easy little craft kits. I think they're so handy if you're someone who's like, I want to be a crafty person, but I don't want to have to invest in a ton of supplies, or
Yeah.
I have a limited storage space. I can't keep all of this, which that's very much me. Of I'm just like, I have so much craft supplies that it's just overwhelming. So I've really started using these craft kits because they give you exactly what you need for that project. They have pretty easy to follow instructions. I mean, a lot of the time these are like for kids, but I don't know. They don't take a lot of time to do, but you could also spread it out for a longer period of time if you want. But yeah, you can put your ambiance video on. You can put a podcast on, aka Blanket Fort Files. You could listen to an audiobook, music. I know you had suggested, I don't remember what episode it was, but like listening to a vinyl instead.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
do
I
that a
think
lot
there's
when I
just a
clean.
lot of Yeah. So I think, and we tend to have some sort of craft project on each of these seasonal tips, but I think there's just something so cozy about getting to create something with your own hands. And I think the craft kits are so good because it's not this like overwhelming project. You don't have to learn
Yeah.
a brand new skill. You don't have to get a bunch of supplies, and it's not always super messy. Like it's pretty easy to clean up. So, plug for little craft kit boxes.
Yeah. And I feel like as much as I love air dry clay, which has been a previous case file, I feel like sometimes every option under the sun can be overwhelming. And so that's the other thing I like about craft kits
Mhm.
is they give you the boundaries to be crafty in a way where you know where you're walking versus like where am I going? Like now I'm gonna like the other side of it is like I've ended up scrolling multiple times looking for a air dry clay like inspiration instead of just doing the air dry clay. I think that's
Yeah.
what I like about the craft kits is it's like, okay, this is what you're doing. And you're like, okay, cool, I'm in. So help set the
Yeah,
boundaries
it
in a good
like
way.
that's such a good way of describing it. I'm like, yes, you have to make your decision of which kit to get, but you're limited to what's at the store when you go. And yeah, I didn't even think about it that way, but you're so right of like, oh, well, because I've always done that where I'm like, I'm gonna start like bullet journaling, but then I get sucked into just
Yes.
watching a bunch of bullet journaling videos, or
Yeah.
I'm gonna try, even if it's stuff to make my life better or whatever. Like I tried to start Notion at the end of the year into this year, and it was just like it's
Mm.
so overwhelming that the craft kits are just like it's easy. You get your
Yeah.
box, you do it, you're done. And then it's something too of like you could keep it for yourself, you could use it as a gift, you have
Yeah.
options.
Yeah, and if so I did one of the ones that was it was supposed to be what's it called? Punch needle? It was like a punch needle little thing.
Oh, I've been wanting to do like the little rugs.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was supposed to be a coaster. I'm not gonna lie, it did not turn out cute, but I think that's also something too
Oh,
where like
no.
I know. I was like, I tried to like, but here's the thing is I didn't have like a template. I was trying to make like a shell and it just looked not cute. But I feel like also
Aw.
something like that allows you to go back and try again and get better at something. Still, either you could do the same exact project again and just be like, okay, what did I like do last time that I do or don't want to repeat again? Or you could try another type of the same craft too. So all the plugs for the little crafty projects around here, but I just feel like it's also very springy
Yeah.
and very fun.
Yes, I really quickly, I'm sorry to was not expecting you to go off on a tangent of, like, craft kits, but I don't know if you did this when you were a kid, Joy, but I just remembered we used to have, like, a this was probably one of the, like, OG subscription boxes. I think it was called Toucan Sammer, like, something Toucan do. I don't know, mom, let me know what it was because I know you listen. But it was, like, for kids, and you would get, like, a little craft kit in the mail, like,
Fun.
every couple of months, and I just used to really look forward to when that would come in the mail, and so I think that's just, like, been part of my soul ever since a child, and so that's why I've really
Cute.
gravitated towards them, and I will be talking about my latest craft kit for my 2%, so this
Ah,
is your
I'm
plug
excited.
to stay to the to the end of the episode.
Oh, fun. Ooh, I'm excited to hear
All
about
right.
that. I'm not the greatest
Yeah,
at those, but again, you can get better and better at them. So I'm excited to see what yours is.
exactly. Yeah. Tip number 4, sign up for a local workshop. So I think this kind of feeds in from the craft kits of the last one of just finding something in your area. And we've talked about a lot of different workshops that you and I have done in the
Yeah.
past or ones we want to do. I think it's twofold. One, now obviously, like there's some that bigger businesses host, like the Sur La Table cooking classes. That's like a bigger business, but you can find really good local workshops maybe through your library, and that would be free
Mm,
even, or low cost ones. We have a couple like arts and crafts stores that do different
cool.
classes or workshops, and I think it's a really fun way to learn a new skill.
Yeah.
It's a good way to give back to your local community. You usually end up with a product of something you enjoy, and it's just like a fun way to spend a couple of hours in like a more unique way instead of, oh, we're going to go out to dinner, we're going to go out for drinks or the movies. Like it's just a more unique experience. And I don't know about you, but I'm all about trying new experiences.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I feel like also, so the coffee one that we did, we actually found because we walked into a coffee shop that we enjoyed their coffee and said, "Hey, do you guys do classes or do you know of anybody who does?" So that's another way
Mm.
where you can find them too. Just like if there's a crafting place or something you like, they probably know somebody who is doing something.
Yeah, I have a few that I put on here that I've done in the past like year or so. And I think I've talked about most of them, but we did a ceramics class last spring when we made those mugs,
Made it up,
even though they were
yeah.
ugly.
I feel like that's the fun part,
Um,
it doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah, exactly. It was just a fun time. We also did this like it was called silk screening, but it was using water marbling technique where you
Cool.
basically have like the water and the oil paints and you make little swirly designs and then you dip stuff in. Last fall, I did a whiskey blending class by myself. That was kind of cool. So
Cool.
there's all kinds of really fun workshops. Again, whatever your interests are, you can find something really fun. And again, check out your local library because a lot of those workshops are either very low cost or a lot of the time free too.
Yeah, I don't know if they still do them, but I remember as a kid there was that one place in Michael's that they always had like a room that I felt like they did little classes in
Oh,
there too.
yes. We also, as I don't know if they do them for adults, but we did a bunch of kid workshops at Home Depot, little like
Oh,
wood
cool.
building things. And one time I accidentally screwed a screw all the way into the like plastic table.
You know,
Oops.
learning, doing it. Love it. That wood block was
Um,
secure, I tell you what. That's funny. Yeah, a few of the ideas that I had is since I did the coffee one, I'd love to do a tea one because I feel like it's just a very good complementary class that I also would really enjoy because I'd love to like learn how to make my own tea blends. And then
mhm.
another one that I've wanted to do is sourdough because especially being gluten free,
Ooh.
especially being at altitude, sourdough, I just have never figured it out. And I get
Yeah,
scared that
that's
I'm going
tough.
to do something wrong and make us sick. So
Aw.
I've made a sourdough starter a few times and I always just end up tossing it because I'm like, I'm scared of you. I just like, I don't know. So I feel like
Yeah.
those are two of
I
mine that I hope to do.
Yeah, and I know it's supposed to smell like i.e. sourdough, but it smells a little too funky funk for
I
me.
know.
Not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
I just get afraid and then I just never do it. Tip
Yeah.
number 5 is bring loved ones together. We talked about this, I don't know if it was fall or winter, but we were talking about kind of like bringing that community together. And I feel like it's good for every season. And one of the things that I actually have a plan to do, so if you're listening to this, I
Yay.
have a friend that's coming to visit and we're going to do this, is a at-home coffee
Fun.
shop. So I'm really excited about it. I have way too
Ooh.
many recipes on the docket and there's no way we're making them all. But I did make a little logo for our at-home coffee shop and we're going to put it on
Cute.
little to-go coffee cups and we're just going to keep them because I feel like that would be fun even for ourselves. Just I don't know, like it's our own little coffee shop that we take with us. But we have friends that are coming, so we're going to do that with them. And so I'll have to share some photos and whatever I finally decide
Yeah.
to bake and make. But that was one way that felt like it could be really fun to do a bringing loved ones together via the breakfasts and coffees and love of it all.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that a lot. I keep feeling, yeah, yeah, because you're just like, I don't know, these are getting friends together in like unique ways is something I've really been vibing with this year.
Yeah,
I've
you're doing
obviously
great at
talked
it
about
too.
Cookbook Club. Thanks. I've talked about Cookbook Club a few times, but that is my sub tip. So I kind of wanted to give a quick explanation of how it works now that we've done
Yeah, please.
two, and next weekend will be our March one. So we all kind of vote on the cookbook we want to cook from.
Cool.
And then I send out, because I'm kind of the organizer slash one with all the cookbooks. But I send out kind of like chapter by chapter, wherever you can get like a list of all of the dishes in that cookbook. So I send it out to my group
Cool.
of friends. We have like a group chat called Cookbook Club. And so everyone can go through and pick the ones that they want. And then I'll send a photo of their recipe to them, or a lot of times they've been able to find PDFs of the cookbook online or through their library. So sometimes they're like already found the recipe online. Um, and then I will break down the dish. And obviously, this helps because I have more of a cooking background, but I think it's definitely doable if you don't. But just kind of think about how long the dish would take. And because it'll say, like, cook this chicken for 10 minutes or roast this
Yeah.
vegetable for 5. So just kind of breaking down the whole dish. And then we do about roughly 50-50% prep at home, cook together. Like, it's not
Oh.
a potluck. I really stressed at the beginning, like, this is not intended to be a potluck. We're actually cooking together. And then, like, some dishes, like, there's a couple of the desserts we're going to have next week that have to set overnight. So they're obviously doing that all at home, but then they'll be on cleanup duty. So they'll like clean dishes after we're done using them and stuff and kind of trade off. But yeah, everyone's just kind of responsible for their dish, but we help each other out. And then it's just really fun getting to eat this meal that we all made together. And
Yeah.
because it's all from the same cookbook, it all kind of works together and blends really nicely. Although the first one, we weren't like thoughtful. Everyone just like found a dish that they were excited about, and we didn't end up with like any veggies. So it was just kind of this like very heavy carb loaded meal. So we were like super, super full last time. And then in February, there was like sickness going around. So all the veggie people dropped out for the most part. We had this one soup that had veggies in it. So I'm hoping March will have some veg because it just like breaks up the meal a little bit. But that was a little bit more long-winded than I thought. But if you're wanting to host a cookbook club and you have questions, feel free to let me know.
Yeah, I actually love that. I'm glad that you explained that because I think I thought it was more of a everybody brings their finished dish, and the cookbook club is
Mhm.
just the fact that you're using the same cookbook. But I really like that you're cooking together. I feel like that makes it one, more interactive, two, more like you're learning at least a little bit about multiple dishes in doing that. And you're
Yeah.
also just cooking together, and that's like the fun part of it too, as opposed to just eating together. I'm actually really, really glad
Yeah.
that you explained that because I got that wrong in my head when you talked about it the first time.
Yeah, it's been really fun so far, and it's just something that we do once a month. And it's, who can come, who cannot. It's no big deal. It's very chill and laid back, but it is kind of fun all getting to work together on this meal.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is my little plug if you want to start a cookbook club. This is your sign to do so.
Ooh. Yeah. Wait, can
All right.
I ask what is the cookbook for
Yes.
this month?
Actually, let me readjust because it's one of the books propping up my microphone, but it is The Irish Kitchen
Ooh, yum. That looks
because we're
delicious.
doing it just a couple days before St. Patrick's Day.
Fun.
So we are like, well, this kind of feels themey. So I'm very excited. And I was a little nervous because I don't know, to me, I just think Ireland potatoes.
Potatoes.
I've been to Ireland and there was other things there, but we have quite a variety of dishes. I'm pulling my Suki card and I'm making this butternut squash / chestnut risotto. So
Ooh.
very Suki vibes. Someone is making this raspberry cream and oats dessert. My
Yum.
sister is doing an Irish cream cheesecake for dessert. So, but we
Hmm.
do have vegetables this time. I just can't remember what they are off the top of my head, but it's going to be a fun little get together. I'm very excited.
Oh, I'm really excited. Yes, you have to say my at-home coffee shop is the same weekend, so we'll have to share photos.
Oh, fun. Look at us. Love
Look at
it.
us go.
Is it? Oh, it's my turn. Sorry.
I think it's
My
you,
eye
yeah.
is starting to water too. We were talking about allergies and I'm like,
Oh
oh,
no. It heard.
I'm
Your
getting
eye heard you.
emotional over spring. All right. Tip number 6, embrace the freshness of the season. So this was kind of my plug for Florals for spring groundbreaking because I was like, I really obviously wanted to put some sort of florally thing in here, but I was like, we're trying to be kind of unique with these. So I have obviously talked a little bit already about audiobook and podcast walks with my first one. But I think just part of this, because spring is about, rebirth and growth and fresh and all of that, I think you can really just like try to incorporate the different senses on your walk. So obviously for me, audiobooks really kind of get me grounded. Like I know obviously my mind is set in that world, but it
Mm.
helps me be more present in a weird way because my hearing, I guess, is more activated. So if you're doing a color walk and your sight's more activated, or just try to be really like present in your feet as you're walking, I think is really
Yeah.
helpful. And then this is where I had in my, if you really have bad allergies, as I was telling Joy, my eye is like starting to water. So that's where I'm at. But um, even just opening your curtains or your blinds more. Here in Texas, a
Mm,
lot of us don't open the windows fully because we have a bug problem.
mm.
But just letting in some sort of freshness. I think the house can get a little musty, crusty in the winter. So, whatever ways you can just bring, freshness, vibrancy, color into your life in the spring, I think is obviously very important.
Yes, I feel like this is like a funny TMI, but the other day, because it was so gloomy for days and days on end, and then it was a really sunny day that I opened the curtains on like the back door, and I like had like my feet just in the sun, and I have never felt more like a cat in my life. I was just like, I understand cats fully, just wanting to sit and lay in the sun because I was just like standing there, just like doing nothing. Just like
Aw,
I was the dog looking out of or the cat looking out of the window, just my feet in the sun, and I was so happy. So yes, I
cute.
second that. That's not my tip though, by the way. Uh, my
Stick
tip
your feet in
is
the sun.
yeah, put your feet in the sun like a crazy person. Um, my tip is to plan and plant an outdoor garden or an herb garden. And if you have the
Mm.
space, try to pick something with pollinators. So that's the one thing for me is like I get a little bit of I don't think I've ever been stung by a bee. Joy tip or joy weird background story. I
You
don't think I've ever been
just
stung by a
jinxed
bee.
it.
I know this year is going to be the year I'm going to come up with like a puff face one day. Um,
Aw,
actually, I don't know if I'm allergic or not, so that's I think the reason why I get nervous about it. But I
yeah.
am not the best at putting a pollinator plant out, but I do know that there's been butterflies that have been drawn to my garden every once in a while,
Ooh.
and that makes me so happy. And I don't have a big garden by any means, but if you even have more of a restricted space, I really feel like herbs is the thing where you're talking about like connecting with your senses and having that fresh flavor, that fresh feel. For me, even if you're doing like chives I really like. I really like thyme and I really like mint. But the big thing about mint is put it in its own container because it will take over whatever container, including your yard that it is planted in. So put it in its own container or your whole yard's just gonna be mint. But I've made like a mixed drink with mint. We had this one plant that we got a few
Mm.
years ago. It was like a chocolate mint, and it was wild.
Ooh.
Like once you smell it, it really somehow smells both like chocolate and like mint. And so anything of that nature, I feel like I really nature. Um, I really enjoy. And our neighbors have a bird feeder that brings the birds too. So I feel like it's just like fun having different things in different yards too, if possible. I mean, obviously you don't control your neighbors, but I just really like that they do that because I feel like it's a fun addition. Tip number 7, learn a grandma skill, something that adds value to our lives. And not that other skills don't, but I feel like grandma skills are something that I kind of define as things that are slowly kind of getting lost through the generations just by kind of by accident or just by not passing things down or not wanting things passed down or however you correctly phrase any of that. So my grandma skill is I want to learn more about the fruits and veggies that are in each season because even if you can't or
Mm.
don't have the space to plant the larger garden outside, it's still good to know one for your budget because typically things are cheaper in season if you're at the grocery store.
Mhm.
But two, because I feel like if your body is also eating in season, it just for me ends up feeling better. So learning and buying some book or something like that that tells me what season and what month things are ripe and that you can pick them, I feel like I will just enjoy that. So that was my grandma skill that I want to learn.
Yeah. Fun. Mine is one that I technically learned last year, but I want to improve on. So, if you remember last year, I learned how to crochet roughly. And I did finish my little book blanket, but it was kind of wonky and uneven, but it served its purpose. But I definitely want to improve upon that. But I do just like overall thinking about skills that are kind of a dying art.
Yeah.
And
That's a
so
better
I
way to phrase
think
it.
that, yeah, that could just be something that, whatever it may be for you, I think is really helpful, and something that I would love is if y'all also shared, our cozy detectives, what
Yeah.
these new skills are. Anytime y'all tell us either A, how this podcast inspired you to be more cozy, or just different things that you have tried out, we love to hear about it.
Yeah.
And we'll talk a little bit more as we near this episode, but we've got some ideas planned for our 1 year episode, which
So
is very
excited.
exciting. And we definitely want to incorporate the cozy
Yeah.
detectives a little bit with that more. So, with any of these tips, but especially, I don't know, the dying art one, I feel in particular
Yeah.
could be just really cool to see what everyone does, and the workshop one. But if you try any of these, please let us know. Or if you already have this cool skill that
Yeah.
is more of a dying art that you're just like really talented out, please share. We would love to learn from you.
Yes, please do. I feel like that's something that I actually, to pat ourselves on the back and the cozy detectives on the back, I feel like we're pretty good at incorporating hobbies and things like that to the best of our ability. But I started to see people talk about how hobbies are just a dying art because we just get so
Mhm.
focused and engrossed in other things. And I think that's where that grandma skill of something that, not even like your specific grandma, but just something that is kind of like you said, that dying art that either you know or that you are learning or want to learn, or a class that you can take that can help incorporate that skill into your repertoire. Yes, we would love to hear any and all of those skills that you have or are
Yeah.
learning.
I think also the to add to the hobbies are dying, I feel like because we're in this society where every hobby has to be monetized slash every
Mm.
hobby has to have some sort of social media around it, which like I know obviously like we podcast and I have like a social media account, but I'm still very like cognizant to keep that a hobby. And I feel
Yeah.
like if you have something that you enjoy, just do it
Yeah.
to enjoy. Like, you don't have to be like, "Oh, I
Yes.
have to make a TikTok for this," or "I have to turn this into a side hustle." And I get it because the economy is hard, times are really tough, and if you need to get that extra bag, like, do that, but also just make sure that you're finding things that you just do for
Yeah.
fun. Like, life we only have so much of this life. There's no point of having a job and a side hustle and this and that. Just, like,
Yeah.
do things that you enjoy.
Yeah, and
Have
I think at
hobbies.
the yes, I was just gonna say, and I think at the best view, maybe not the best view, but the best view that I maybe have of hobbies is something where, again, it doesn't have to be monetized, it doesn't have to be for a specific, like, reason, purpose, something like that. It's just something that I'm doing for fun, and I think you can
Yeah.
definitely end up I am guilty of ending up moving too many things to, like, how is this productive? And I think that's a
Mhm.
in my life is not a correct view of hobbies for me. So I feel like, yes, exactly what you're saying is a good reminder to me as well. Of just like, just do it for fun. And like your little, I will always bring this up. So sorry, cozy detectives, if you've been here and you've heard me talk about these freaking little air dry things. But this is my little
Yes,
blueberry
they're
and I love
so
him.
cute.
And he has
My
no purpose
blueberry.
except for he makes me happy and my tiny baguette. So
Exactly, yeah,
yes.
and I think to just one more thing to add with hobbying, it your hobby doesn't have to be something you do over and over and over again. Like, you don't have to
True.
be like, "I'm gonna become a quilter," or "I'm going to become
Yeah.
a candle maker." You can try it one time,
Yeah.
have fun, maybe not be the best at it. Your hobby can be trying things that make you happy. Like, that could be the
Yeah.
hobby itself. So don't feel like you have to put all this pressure to find a hobby.
Yep.
Trying things can be the hobby.
Yep.
So
Absolutely. Love it.
all right, tip number 8, make spring cleaning fun. And we kind of did this a little bit in fall of just some ways to make cleaning a little bit cozier. But I do think a lot of us tend to do a big spring cleaning haul,
Yeah.
and you don't have to do it all in one go, break it up. But I think Justin, if cleaning is something you enjoy and it can be a hobby, cleaning can be a hobby, people. But
Yeah.
I think if it's something where you dread it, like look for ways to liven it up. So for me, obviously, I love cleaning with an audiobook, no surprise. But sometimes I'll like create a fun playlist just for that to like really get me pumped up or excited to do it. So look for those little small ways that makes you excited to do a particular task that you might be dreading.
Yes. Yes, I love that. And I have a kind of sub tip to yours and then my own tip because I just saw this and I just created this is somebody was talking about how we do tend to do that or have that weight of we have to do spring cleaning all in one go. But I know for me, I can get overwhelmed by that because I feel like I have to spend like the entire weekend just cleaning everything. And
Mhm.
so I'm going to try it out this week. We shall see. But a 15-minute blitz kind of at the end of the day before you fully sink into the
Mhm.
rest of the evening. Plus, it kind of gives you your weekends back. But the way to do this, I hadn't heard of before, is create a 15-minute playlist. And so I feel like that works off of
Mhm.
the one that you're saying, but then it's not a timer because I feel like a timer, like, I don't know, just doesn't seem as fun to me. But a playlist of like 4 songs and you can rotate the songs or do
Yeah.
whatever you want can be a lot more fun. So I am going to do that this week. So I'm very excited about that. But my actual tip is to change out your bedding too, because I feel like I had this might have been my first ever 2% cozy of creating the spring pillowcases that I ended up using for summer.
Mhm.
But I feel like doing something like that just kind of can re-enliven and like refresh your bed and you spend so much time sleeping that like why not have that also be a focal point of cozy too. So that's my tip.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm
Yay.
excited. Tip number 9, go full 90s spring. No surprise. This is my tip.
Very
LOL.
you.
Very me. I think it's just I think because I've been so focused on like the low technology and what can I do to add color to my space, it just lends itself to the 90s. And a way that I'm doing that, and this is where it's like, it's not like you have to like throw your cell phone out the window and like never touch it again. Because my tip is to create a Pinterest board in a way where it's inspiring to you, a way that you can kind of, and even like watching the movies too. Now that you've said that, that's another way that I really inspire myself to bring that vibe and that feel. And also like clicking pause and seeing why. Like, I like this house. Why do I like this house? Or like, what are aspects
Ooh,
in that
yeah.
that I could bring to my house, which is where and a 2% cozy from a couple weeks back was doing the cafe curtains in my kitchen. And I look at those things every single day and they make me smile every single day. And they are a very kind of
Yay.
90s thing to do. But I feel like I only found that because I looked at photos that I had on my Pinterest board and was like, okay, what in this photo do I like? Not just the photo overall, what are aspects of it that I could bring to my house? And that's how I found that. So that is my go full 90s spring tip.
Love it. You'll have to make us, we have been kind of bad at our being good for Pinterest. So this is my
Yeah,
plea
we'll
to
do
you to make us a 90s spring one and maybe we can get back into Pinterest. But there's just so much going on.
So
Um,
much.
Mine is not necessarily specific to spring, but I think spring is a fun time to do this. And obviously, you and I are both 90s kids, but this can pertain to you regardless of what decade you were born in. Um, it's no surprise I've been feeling very, like, sadly nostalgic lately. So one of the things I actually started at the beginning of the year that it was inspired from a bookstagrammer that I follow, where every month I reread a book from my childhood. So that's
Ooh.
been really fun. I just finished one book today, actually, that is going to be part of my case file next week, actually.
Ooh.
So little plug for that. So that's been really fun to just reconnect with books that I haven't read in a very long time, but obviously like created the love of reading that I have now. And then something that my sister and I did, I think it was last weekend when I was in, or maybe the weekend before, but it was when I was in like full on throes of nostalgic sadness. We did rewatch Harriet the Spy for Michelle because she did
Yeah.
pass a couple weeks ago. But before that, we will do this like every couple of years where we will find walkthroughs on YouTube of old computer games that we really liked playing as
Fun.
kids. So I don't know if you ever played these, Joy, but I am thinking about doing a case file at some point. They're Purple Moon games. I don't know if you ever heard of those.
No, I never did. Wait, what is
Okay.
it?
Well, I will do a
Well, don't have to
full
don't do
case
the
file.
yeah.
So there's yeah, I'm not gonna go deep into it now, but there's a couple variations. One was called Secret Paths, and you basically like each
Mm.
girl goes on this like character journey. But they're like the majority of them are like, do you remember those books of like choose your own adventure type deal?
Yeah, I do remember those. So it was kinda like
So
that,
they
but a
were like
video game?
yes, and it was like the simplest animation, basically just like pictures, like nothing really complex.
Mm.
But it features this middle school girl, Rocket, and so you're in Rocket's mind and making her decisions. So I hadn't thought about them in a very long time, so we watched a few walkthroughs, and it was just so healing and
Oh.
nostalgic because obviously you can't play them anymore, but I kind of get to go back to that world for a little bit.
Ah, that's fun. I actually meant to ask you this episodes and episodes ago. From either TV, books, or video games, even if it's one of the case files that you've already done, do you have like a favorite that really means that time period to you, even if you've already said it? I don't know if I've asked you that specific question before.
Oof. Um,
Or like
I don't
top
know,
three.
like gut yeah, gut reaction, I would say, the American Girl magazines, which that was probably obvious to everyone because I talked about that for, like, an hour straight.
Yeah, no, I love it.
Those were a big part of my life and just that whole brand. I would say oh, that's so hard because there's so, like, just so many things, but that was probably a big one. The Babysitters Club books, I would say Princess Diaries, Parent Trap. I don't know, a lot of the ones that we did early on because those were
Nice.
just very near and dear to my heart. So we could go on a whole tangent and I will save our cozy detectives from that. But what about you? What are some like pillars from that time?
I feel like some of mine are like kind of video games. Like I think the Neopets RuneScape was like the video game side of it for me.
Yeah.
I feel like TV would have been like Arthur Out of the Box.
Mhm.
Even Roly Polioles. It's just like a oh,
Yeah.
do you remember
Peanut butter and jelly,
oh
the otters.
oh that was cute too. I was trying to think of the dinosaur one, which is the one where there's the two little
Oh,
kids.
oh, yes, Dragon Tales.
Dragon Tales, there we go. I was like, "Why can't I
Yeah.
think of the opening song?" But yes, I love Dragon Tales. That was so good. That should be a kiss file.
Same.
Yeah, so a lot
Yes.
of those were, like, the childhood memories of all of that.
Yeah. Basically anything that we've done a case file on so far, I would say, would be
Honestly.
be a pillar of that time, and that's why we talked about it.
Yep,
All
absolutely.
right, our last tip, tip number 10, continue to embrace slow living, which very much full circles back to number 1. But just to remind you that just because it's getting warmer, you don't have to go all in,
Yeah.
overwork yourself, continue to live cozy lives, i.e., that's why you're listening to us. But I just wanted to end this list with that reminder like, yeah, we're saying start hobbies, do workshops, get together with your friends, la, la, la. But like you have the whole season. And honestly,
Yeah.
these are all things that you can incorporate into other seasons as well. If you've listened to our past episodes with a similar theme, you'll notice there's very similar tips, overlap, but I think they're just constant reminders every quarter to just deep breath, slow down a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yes, absolutely. I love that, and I feel like it's funny because my tip under this, it kind of rolls back to other tips that you've had, but I was thinking about, like, if you're on a walk, if you're looking for the colors or if you're doing something like that, you could take those flowers, especially if they're, like, little, like, by the road flowers, and press them into a
Mhm,
bookmark, and I feel like that's a good way to remember the season, but not in an overwhelming way, because you could literally just, like,
mhm.
use the whatever the plastic thing is that sticks to itself, and then you just have your little bookmark, and it's a little clear see-through, but you got a little flower in it, and I feel like that's a slow, cozy way to embrace the season because, yeah, again, it doesn't have to the point of it is to not feel overwhelming. The point of it is to give ideas of things that
Mhm.
you can do that can add cozy to your life, but not in a way that you must do all of this right now. And here's now you must achieve cozy, because that's kind of counterproductive, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. Take it one day at a time.
Yes, love that. Okay, I have to know
Well,
about your 2%.
speaking of more cozy,
Yeah, I want to know what it is.
I think you know because I think I shared it in my story yesterday and you did
Uh,
react to it. I've been wanting to try this for a very long time, but the little diamond painting is technically what it's called,
yes.
where you just basically stick on it's like a paint by numbers, but with, like, rhinestones, and I really was vibing with that yesterday and this morning while listening to an audiobook, surprise, surprise, but those craft kits are really fun, but, they sometimes can take a little bit more focus and energy, mind focus, but with the diamond, it's literally you have a little sticky thing, you stick the rhinestone in, and you pop it on. So it's, like, very much brain off activity, which was
Cool.
just very relaxing, very cozy vibes.
Fun. Did you use like, is it kind of like a coloring book looking one? That's what I couldn't tell from the photo.
No, it's just a little canvas. I got a kit from Target of oof, it was honestly several months ago. So this is like
Cool.
one thing that I've had that I've been like wanting to use. And there are these little pink cowgirl vibes, which is kind of what I did the theme of my
Fun.
bathroom last year. So I'm probably going to frame those and put them up there. But it was a very, very cozy activity. Highly recommend.
Ah, I love that. I've always found those so like so intricate because some people will do them on like a mug or like a Stanley cup or something like that. And they'll
Oh,
just like,
yeah,
I'm
no.
like, wow, that's so cool. But I feel like even like a photograph,
Yeah.
like you said, like that's super fun. I love that. I might steal that
Yeah.
cozy 2% at some point.
Do it. That's the whole point of these. What is yours?
Mine, I feel like I don't want it to always be something that I've bought. I think though, because I've been so focused on the 90s home, I've been very specifically looking at the thrift store for ways to incorporate that into my home. And on my
Yeah.
Pinterest board, in one of my photographs was this like very Nancy Myers looking white and blue, like china lamp. And
Mm.
I think that's the way that you call it. I'm not sure the exact way to call it, but it's a kind of like a vase lamp, maybe is the better phrasing for it. And I
Ooh.
found one at a thrift store. Actually, technically found two. So I did buy both because I was like, I can't leave the other one. But they're not the
Yeah.
same. But I think it came from the same house because I don't think I've ever seen one of these at a thrift store before. But I did buy it. And my plan is to put it like next to the curtains because in trying to take a photograph for the Cozy Detectives for you, I was like, this looks so less cute than I want it to, but it's just in photographs. It looks really cute in
Aw, I
person.
love it.
But
Yeah.
I want to do like a little like short desk thing and then I'm gonna put the lamp on it and then kind of have the lamp in the kitchen too is something that I really like doing. So that is my plan for that. So if I do find a little table, that'll probably be at 2%. But I'm really excited about the lamp and it does work. I did bring it home and made sure that it was tested and it works and I love it and it makes me
Love it.
happy.
Yeah, you'll have to send me a picture because I don't wanna wait till the episode comes out.
Will do. What are our cozy
Alright.
detective 2%?
Yes, I've got a couple today. So, Mem0026, a very classic 2%, had some thick fuzzy socks, and I know
Nice.
we've had some other ones do that, but it's just I don't know, it always adds that little extra bit of specialness, which is like I feel like when you pull those
Yeah.
on, you just feel a little happier, and that's like the whole point of it, 2%.
Absolutely.
And then I feel like, this next one somehow in the future listen to this episode before it came out because this one felt very much like what we talked about on this episode, so
Ooh.
I think they read our minds ahead of time, but, KJ Stribling said that they got different blankets on their bed, and they took down their curtains to let more light in, and I'm like, "Wow,
Yes.
that is literally what we talked about today, so
Right
good
on
job."
theme. Right on theme. Love it, love
Love
it.
it. Well, thank you so much for listening. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and YouTube at Blanket Fort Files Pod and subscribe there and wherever you listen to your podcast. Keep sending in those 2% and be sure to join us next week in the Blanket Fort where we're going to discuss the coziness of adventure movies.
This is a cozy rewatch for
Yo
me.
ho!
I can pretty much say every line in this movie.
I love it.